Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're diving into something that is just absolutely brilliant about Scottish Gaelic. We're looking at how you can dynamically build your own vocabulary. We aren't just going to sit here and memorize a boring list of words. Instead, we're unpacking the actual mechanics of word creation, turning everyday nouns into these incredibly descriptive and sometimes downright hilarious adjectives. I know, it sounds like the setup to a really weird joke, doesn't it? What do a rocky beach, a dangerous cliff, and a farty mood all have in common? Well, let's jump right into this intriguing question by looking at how Scottish Gaelic word derivation actually works. It all boils down to a few super productive little word endings that literally change how we describe the world around us, and they give the language its wonderfully literal, unique cultural flavor. Okay, so here are your essential building blocks. When you take these three highly productive suffixes and slap them onto a Gaelic noun, boom, you've instantly got an adjective. First up is ach or ich, which basically means having the quality of something. It's kind of like adding yai in English. Next is ail or el, which means something is like or has the characteristic of the root word. And finally, we've got mhor, which literally translates to full of or abounding in something. Let's actually look at how this plays out in the wild. Let's take the root word clach, which means rock or stone. If we grab clach and tack on our first suffix, ach, we get clachach. So picture a clachach, a gorgeous rocky beach. That ach ending is telling us the beach possesses the surface quality of stone. It's stony. It actually has rocks sitting right there on it. Now this next one brilliantly shows off our second suffix, ale. Imagine an intimidating bogsar clachail. Now, obviously, this boxer isn't literally made of stone, and he isn't covered with pebbles like the beach we just looked at, but he possesses rock-like characteristics, right? He's hard, he's unyielding, he's tough as stone. So that ale suffix takes the noun and turns it into a resemblance. And then we have mhor. If you add this to clach, you get clachmhor. A box of clachmhor is a box that is literally crammed full of or abounding in rocks. It is rock-full. So just from one basic noun, clach, we've dynamically built three distinct adjectives: stony, rock-like, and full of rocks. Now, the whole point here is that you can actively produce these words yourself on the fly instead of just waiting to stumble across them in a dictionary. So, let's put your skills to the test with a rapid-fire prediction round. I'm going to toss out some Gaelic nouns, and I want you to mentally build the three adjectives using och, isle, and mhor. You ready? Let's start outside with the weather. Take the nouns gaoth for wind, fear for grass, and sneachd for snow. How would you describe a hill as being grassy? Or a sudden gust as being wind-like? What about a sky that is just totally full of snow? Mentally attach those three endings we just talked about. All right, let's see how you did. For wind, you get gaoth. You might say, tan latha gaoth, the day is windy. Or you'd use gaothmhor for valley that's just full of wind. For grass, fearg describes a grassy hill, but fearmhor means it's heavily overgrown, completely abounding in grass. And for snow, it's super easy to build phrases like a sneachd day, or a landscape that is just entirely snechtmhor, totally full of snow. Okay, let's shift from the weather outside to the weather inside our heads. Apply that exact same logic to these internal emotional states. Fearg, meaning anger, sund, meaning cheer or good spirits, and tlachd, meaning pleasantness or delight. Just take a quick second to build them in your head. Let's check your work. From fearg, anger, we get feargach, feargal, and feargmhor. From sund, cheer, it's sundech, sundal, and sunmhor. And honestly, what's so incredibly powerful here is that you've literally just tripled your emotional vocabulary in seconds. You can effortlessly describe an oran sundach, a cheerful song, or a feasgur tlachmhor, a really pleasant evening, or, a wrathful, anger-filled look, just by slotting in the correct suffix. All right, let's step up the difficulty just a bit and try out some abstract concepts. We've got gràs, meaning grace, cunnart for danger, and airgead, meaning money or silver. Let's see if you can handle predicting the words for a risky road, a graceful dancer, or a wealthy individual. Here is the breakdown. Cunnart gives us cunnartach, clachail, and cunnartmhor. These are incredibly useful for warning someone about a dangerous cliff edge, or actually even some suspicious danger-filled soup. But look really closely at airgead, money.
Airgead means moneyed or silvery, but if you want to describe a genuinely wealthy person who is just absolutely abounding in cash, they are airgeadmhor.
So now that you know the rules of word formation and you've seen just how productive this system is, let's dive into a derivational detective story. This is a hilarious real-world example that perfectly highlights the beauty of literal Gaelic imagery. And it shows exactly why understanding these root words is so incredibly rewarding. And it all starts with the root word bram.
While I was exploring some Gaelic texts, I stumbled on this phrase, tas shumas bramasach sundach. Now, sundach, we literally just learned, that means cheerful. But bramasach, well, using our derivational rules, I traced words like bramasach and brummel back to their root word brum. And brum, my friends, means flatulence, a fart. So adding that descriptive suffix literally translates the phrase to being fartily happy or prone to farting cheerful. Shumas is radiantly, undeniably fartily happy. But here's where it gets super interesting for language learners. A prominent Gaelic dictionary actually translated a variation of this phrase, vamare go bramasach sundach, figuratively in English as being as happy as a pig in muck. Now, happy as a pig in muck definitely conveys the general vibe of being very content, sure, but did you notice how that English idiom completely erases the original farty imagery of the Gaelic phrase? There is absolutely nothing in the original Gaelic words about a pig, and nothing about muck or mud. The dictionary just prioritized a parallel English idiom over the literal Gaelic imagery.
Which leaves us with this final thought. What unique cultural flavor, history, and humor do we actually lose when we sanitize language through figurative translation? When you rely purely on an English dictionary's figurative parallel, you completely miss out on the actual mechanics of the Gaelic mind. So, as you build your own Gaelic vocabulary using these suffixes, ac, al, and more, I highly encourage you to embrace the wonderfully weird literal meanings. Decode those roots. Because honestly, why on earth would you settle for being as happy as a pig in muck when you could be beautifully, exuberantly, farty cheerful? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy word building.